So we shall start with an article called as Vaikom, two states, two leaders, and a tale of reform. Okay. So I think already you have completed the first round of exercise wherein you have found out the meaning of the words which you have encountered and whose meaning you don't know, right? Okay. So in the first paragraph, a little over 100 years, a little over 100 years ago was a landmark socio-political moment like no other. The Vaikom struggle, which culminated in the lifting of the barriers to the entry of backward caste Hindus to the local temple in the erstwhile Travancore princely state, would be the first of many mass movements that brought a political attention to religious reform. Since then, the Dravidian movement, founded by Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy, and its self-respect principles have enabled wider reforms within the Hindu religion and paved the way for a more egalitarian society. What is less understood is that this was made possible only due to the insertion of a key clause in the constitution by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Celebrating the centenary of Vaikom is not just a tribute to Periyar's persistence and B.R. Ambedkar's acumen, but also a reassertion of the strong reformist tendencies that continue to pervade through modern day politics in South India. Okay. So can you identify the words which you think are difficult and whose meanings you don't know? Yes? Culminated. You can start from here. So what is landmark? You know about the meaning of the word what is landmark? Okay, landmark. Similarly, next, culminated. 2. 1, 2. Next. Erstwhile. 3. Next. Yes. Egalitarian. Egalitarian. 4. Next. Centenary. 5. Next. Yes. Where is acumen? Acumen. Okay. 6. Next. Pervade. Okay. 7. Politic. Okay. 8. Okay. So next we shall start. A little over 100 years ago, a landmark socio-political movement like no other. Socio-political movement. What do we understand by socio-political movement? Anything which brings a social reform, it's a social movement. Anything which brings a political change, it's a political movement. For example, if you overcome the system of sati, if you overcome the system of child marriage, okay, this is an example of social reform. Okay, if you allow women to participate in the voting process, this is a political reform. But now the struggle which they are discussing, it involves both social aspects as well as political aspects. Hence, it is called as socio-economic movement. Sorry, socio-political movement. So here, they have said 100 years ago. It means they are speaking about a struggle which is Vaikom struggle, which took place 100 years ago. So as I have already mentioned, whenever any event which has happened 75 years ago, 100 years ago, 125 years ago, or 150 years ago, so those events are very important from this year's exam point of view. So as it has appeared, so Vaikom struggle is a very important topic from 2024 25 exam point of view. Okay. So already we have studied to some extent about the Vaikom struggle in our static history class. But here again it has appeared in the newspaper. So at the time of examination, if you do not get sufficient time to cover the entire history syllabus, but at least if you focus from the current affairs point of view on the topics which appear in the newspaper, then definitely it would be beneficial. Okay. So Vaikom struggle, it's very important. So what is Vaikom struggle? It culminated in the lifting of barriers. What is culminated? Final stage, ending. Okay. So culminate, ending stage, which culminated in the lifting of barriers to the entry of backward caste Hindus to the local temple in the erstwhile. What is erstwhile? What is erstwhile? Meaning of the erstwhile? In the past. Until now. Okay. Until now. So, Travancore princely state. It means Travancore presently it is present in the modern Indian state of Kerala. So, in Kerala there is a district called as Travancore. So, in Travancore area, so there was a temple, local temple. So, to this local temple, some people, some backward caste Hindus. So within Hindu we have what many castes. So the castes which were considered as backward, so they were not allowed to enter into this temple. Okay, hence the movement started, which is that movement Vaikom struggle, wherein as an end result of this struggle, so the backward caste Hindus were allowed to enter the temple premises. Okay, premises. Now we should think it from the exam point of view. What kind of questions can be framed in exam? Okay, so Vaikom struggle, it is associated with, for example, one, quit India movement, civil disobedience movement, something such kind of statements might be framed. So that is not important. So Vaikom Satyagraha is associated with temple entry program. Okay, temple entry program. So these kind of statements can be framed. Next, Vaikom struggle, it corresponds to which region of India? East, west, south, north? South. Okay, it took place in which region? Travancore region. Okay, Travancore region. So this is how we are supposed to retain the information. Now here, whether these points are important from Plim's point of view? Yes. So this Vaikom struggle, important. Again, another important is backward caste Hindus temple entry program, which Travancore. So all these points should be part of our notes. Okay, notes. So we should not think that this content is already available in our static part. So why should we make notes? No, static is separate. This dynamic aspect is separate. So we have to make a separate notes, so that repeatedly when we revise the current, these static point of notes from the current affairs point of view, it will be more beneficial. Okay. Next, would be the first of the many mass movements that brought political attention to religious reform. So next point is not important from Plim's point of view. Okay, so among the many struggles, so this was the first mass struggle which focused on religious reform. So in the mains you can quote, but from the Plim's point of view, they are not going to frame such kind of statements. Okay, you need not worry. So since then, Dravidian movement founded by Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy, a very important, and its self-respect principles. So these things have we learnt in history? Okay, that match the following a table kind of content which I had shared with you, in that it is available. So now very important, in the examination they may ask, who started Dravidian movement? Who started Dravidian movement? Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy. Okay, they may also ask like this. So who among the following is associated with self-respect principles or self-respect movement? E.V. Ramaswamy, Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy. So all these points are again important from Plim's point of view. Okay, important from Plim's point of view. Okay, next. How enabled wider reforms within the Hindu religion. Okay, when they started with the Dravidian movement, it promised it brought great reforms in the Hindu religion and paved the way for egalitarian society. So what is egalitarian society? Yes, fail. Equal. When all of them are treated equally, such a society is called as egalitarian society. Okay, so when you are searching for the meaning of a word, don't just stick to one meaning which you will get immediately. Try to connect the meaning of the word in the context of that what statement. Then you will be able to identify the correct meaning of the word. That is also equally important. Okay, equally important. So egalitarian means equal society. Okay, equal society. So again, not important from Plim's point of view. What is less understood is that this was made possible only due to insertion of a key clause in the constitution by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, so this kind of egalitarian society later on, we were able to establish because Dr. B.R. Ambedkar inserted a key clause in the constitution. Okay, so what that is key clause, they are not mentioned. Probably it might be regarding reservation. Celebrating the centenary of Vaikom is not just a tribute to Periyar's persistence and B.R. Ambedkar's acumen. What is acumen? Yes, the ability to make good judgments. So person with a good acumen means he has good judgmental power. Okay, so Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's acumen and Periyar's persistence, so they led to what? Great reforms, but also reassertion of the strong reformist tendencies that continue to pervade through modern day politics in South India. What is politic? Politics. Okay, that's it. So here in this entire paragraph, we have learnt many points. Okay, some of the points are important from Plim's point of view, some of them points are important from mains point of view. But when we are making the notes, we will focus from Plim's point of view. Now I will write a point here. First one, what I will write? Vaikom struggle. When I am writing a point, I will say it's a backward caste Hindus temple entry regarding backward classes Hindus temple entry regarding, okay, regarding that. Okay. Next, who led it? EV? Sorry, okay, here they are not given. Here they are not given. Now, we shall also find out who is the personality associated. We'll explore for more information. Next, which region? Travancore. So this is the first point from Plim's point of view. We are going to make notes like this. Okay. After that, again, what we'll do? Second point. Dravidian movement started by E.V. Ramaswamy. Okay, E.V. Ramaswamy. Okay. Self-respect. Again, I'll write E.V. Ramaswamy. So now we have made a notes from Plim's point of view from first paragraph. In this fashion, you are going to make it. Okay. So for tomorrow's class, I will be urging you to make a notes in this fashion from this article. Okay, from this article. Next. The Vaikom struggle was fought against the prohibition of backward caste Hindus from walking on the streets adjacent to Vaikom Mahadev temple. Important. Now, which temple it was? Whether it was Shaiva temple or Vaishnava temple? It's a Shaiva temple. Okay, see here. Here, the information which we are getting here, even the history books will not have this information. Okay, the information will be missing. So here, Vaikom Mahadeva temple. So there was a Mahadeva temple. So beside this Mahadeva temple, there was a street. There was a street. So people of some caste forget about going to the temple. They could not even walk through this street. They could not even walk through this road. So this was a struggle. But this much detailed information UPSC is not going to ask. If at all it asks, it may focus on what kind of temple it is. Mahadeva temple or what other Vishnu temple. It's a Mahadeva temple. That's it. It's a temple related movement. When leaders of Kerala State Congress Committee and other social activist leaders began agitating against the injustice, they faced a clamp down by the administration. Okay. So again, this point is not important. At that time when the people fought, so they did not get the result. So this is a common sentence. With the entry of Periyar in 1924. In 1924, when Periyar started leading this movement, then they got result. It slowly became a mass movement, bringing people from all classes within its fold. Okay. From this, what we understand here is, in the history while reading, we got to know that Vaikom K. Kelappan is associated. But here we understand that Periyar is an important personality associated with Vaikom Satyagraha. So we'll update the notes. Vaikom Satyagraha, E. Periyar. Periyar is an important personality associated with it. Okay. Next, in November 1925, when the restrictions to walk on the streets finally lifted, the long arc of political movement began tilting towards social justice. Okay. So finally, when the restrictions was removed because of the fight, then it started tilting towards social justice. Now we need to understand what is social justice. Okay. So when we are giving someone a justice, a social justice. So an example of a social justice is reservation. Okay. So reservation is provided because there are some sections of the society, they have been deprived of the justice. Okay. They have not got proper education, they have not got proper infrastructure. So because of these reasons, so special kind of reservation that we are going to give to scheduled caste or scheduled tribe or even OBC. So all of them, they are part of social justice. So whenever you hear about a term called a social justice, so what should flash in your mind is about reservation. Okay. Reservation. So the thing which started with this temple entry movement, so later on some things related to what social justice, they started taking place. Okay, taking place. In the decade that followed, movements erupted in other parts of the country, with B.R. Ambedkar leading protests to enter the Amba Devi temple and Kalaram Mandir, where Dalits were denied entry. A very important point. A very important point. In the examination, they may ask, what they may ask? So, who among the following led the Amba Devi temple movement? Who led it? B.R. Ambedkar. So, Kalaram Mandir movement was led by whom? B.R. Ambedkar. So, this is very important. Now, you will make a notes here from this paragraph also. You will write B.R. Ambedkar and here you will write, so led the protest of the Amba Devi temple, led the protest of Kalaram temple. Okay. So, in both these temples, so Dalits were not allowed to enter the temple. So, again, an important Plim's point of view content. Again, this content will not be available in all the traditional books, but this content is available in the newspaper because the person who has written this content, he is what has a strong hold over the history. Okay. So, information is very important. Okay. Very important. Next, however, now we have completed the second paragraph as well. So, in the entire second paragraph, what are the extra things that we have added here? Extra things from Plim's point of view? One is Mahadev temple. Next is Periyar is associated with the Vaikom's struggle. Just find the meaning of social justice. Amba Devi temple and Kalaram Mandir. So this is how you are supposed to extract the information and what reduce your information overburden. Okay. So next, however, the trajectory of reform in South India was progressing is at a faster pace, with the Legislative Assembly introducing a bill to allow the temple entry in 1932, followed by the Travancore Temple Entry Proclamation in 1936, the Malabar Temple Entry Bill 1938. Okay. So this information, okay, generally the aspirants think that this is a very important legislation from exam point of view. Okay. So these kind of acts, these kind of bills, in mains you can quote, but in prelims they are not going to ask you. Why they are not going to ask you? Because of my intuition, because of my experience with this examination, I can tell you. So UPSC will not focus a question on these bills. Okay, on these bills. So these bills, when you are making a notes, will not focus on them. If at all you are making a notes from the mains point of view, then every information is important. But from prelims point of view, the information, it is not important. Okay. Otherwise, you can, based on this content, what you can do is you can explore information. You can just take a question. What kind of question? So which was the first princely state or which was the first province to introduce a bill regarding temple entry? You got my question? Okay. So which was the first princely state or provinces in India which introduced a bill regarding the temple entry program? Okay, temple entry program. In that fashion, you can search and you can add extra information and also write the year as well. Okay, write the year as well. Okay, year as well. So got it? Okay. If you have not got it, later on we can do that exercise. Okay. So there was also the entry of backward caste in the Madurai Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple and the Tanjavur Brihadeshwara temple in 1939. See, again a very important temple. Okay. There was also entry of backward caste in the Madurai Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple. See, generally when we hear about Madurai, we only hear about Meenakshi. We never hear about Sundareshwar. So here we got an important point from the prelims point of view. So where do we have Sundareshwar temple? Madurai. Okay, Madurai. Next, Tanjavur, we have already seen at multiple places in both history as well as in our art and culture related topic. So in Tanjavur we have Brihadeshwara temple. Now out of curiosity, even though it is not present here, what we will do? Who built Brihadeshwara temple at Tanjavur from the history point of view? Who built Madurai Meenakshi Sundareshwar temple? At least if we are, yes, Raja 1. Okay, so that information you will add. Okay, sometimes if you are unable to pinpointedly find out the exact ruler, even if you recall the dynasty, that would also be sufficient. Okay, here either dynasty or king. Okay, dynasty or king. Okay, king. So again, there were temple entry movements in these two temples as well. Okay, these two temples as well. The Madras Temple Entry Authorization Act 1947 enabled Hindus of all castes to enter and offer worship in all temples within the then Madras Presidency. Okay. So again, this can be quoted in mains, not important from prelims point of view. Okay, not important from prelims point of view. So here in 1947 they brought an act. Because of that act, all the Hindus of all castes were enabled to enter any temple for worship. Okay, for worship. So again, from this paragraph, if you compare, there is only two words which can be extracted. One is Madurai Meenakshi temple. Next, Tanjavur Brihadeshwar temple. Okay, rest all the points you will ignore it. Okay, you will ignore it. Though many of these reforms took place prior to the adoption of the Constitution of India. So if you look at these developments, they have taken place prior to the adoption of the Constitution of India. So when I say prior to the adoption of the Constitution of India, the question that should flash, when was Constitution adopted? 26 November 1949. Okay, you know it, but again, once again, you will write it. Adoption of the Constitution, 26 November 1949. The Constituent Assembly took great care in delimiting the right to freedom of religion. Okay, so we have not yet discussed a few of the provisions of Constitution because we have not yet discussed about fundamental rights. Okay, once we discuss about the fundamental rights in polity, we will get a clear picture. But now, for time being, we shall understand that in the Constitution, there is a clear right to freedom of religion. Okay, about 25 to 28 article number, we shall see this later on. So here we came across a term called as Constituent Assembly. We have not yet discussed in detail, but at the superficial level, we know what is Constituent Assembly? Group of people who wrote the Constitution. Okay, who wrote the Constitution. From where did this Constituent Assembly come from? Whether they were elected or they were appointed. Okay, so again these things we will be discussing later on, but we need to have an understanding about what is Constituent Assembly. So please mark this word as well. Constituent Assembly is important. Okay, so before the constitution came into force, before that itself, many such temple entry programs had taken place. So these are the examples. During discussions on December 7, 1948, B.R. Ambedkar included the prefix subject to public order, morality and health, restricting the extent of the fundamental right and thereby enabling state intervention when necessary. Okay, so this point is very important, but now you will not understand because we are not yet discussed about the fundamental rights. But for time being, you just mark this point as very important. Okay, means we have rights, we have fundamental rights, but fundamental rights are not absolute. There are certain restrictions. Okay, so what are the restrictions? Subject to public health, morality and order and morality, but you will not understand now. Just you note down this. Later on we shall have a discussion once we discuss about fundamental rights in polity. Okay, polity. So here, so there are various terms. We will just extra information we will add. So we have taken adoption of the Constitution of India, Constituent Assembly. Next, freedom of religion. Freedom of religion, which article deals with freedom of religion? Next, fundamental right restrictions. Okay, so these are all important. The 7 words went on to form the legal and legitimate basis for reforms within the fold of religion, thereby enabling constitutional courts to intercede when there was a contestation of fundamental rights, namely between those of equality and religion. So for time being, you just ignore this paragraph because you will not understand. There are many other things to be connected, then itself you will be able to connect this, but there is no point here which is beneficial from Klim's point of view. Okay, there is no point. State and the issue of regulation. The larger issue has always been whether temples and religion at large can be regulated by the state. What is state? Government. Okay, government. So again, Main's point of view it's important, Klim's point of view not important. So the larger issue has always been whether temples and religion. So whether temples and religion can be controlled by the government or not. So that is a larger question. If this is allowed, some argue then the government will lose its secular character. So some say that if the government starts controlling the temple and the religion, then the government's nature, whatever you call it as secular, then it will start losing its secular nature. Okay, there can be nothing further than the truth or logic. Okay, not important. The intervention of the state to regulate temples, which are public spaces, is to ensure equality and access. Okay, so many times we say that we see that temples are under the control of the state government or a state under the control of government. So why they are under the control of government? It's not to make profit out of it. They are under the control of the government to ensure equality and access. If suppose if it is not under the control of the government, if it is under the control of the private administration, then private administration may not allow people belonging to a particular caste to enter the temple. Okay, so it will be against equality. So to promote equality, to build equality, so governments will bring few of the temples under its control so that it can bring equality as far as temple entry and worship is considered. Okay, very important. So again, this can be quoted in Mains, okay, not in Klim's. A long history beginning with the enactment of the Madras Hindu Religious Endowment Act to the present day Tamil Nadu Hindu Religious Charitable Endowments Act of 1959 would make it apparent that the legislative intent to manage religious affairs in consonance with the public order and morality. This position has been confirmed through various judgments beginning from the Commissioner Hindu Religious Endowments Lakshmi Mandira Tirtha Swamiyar of Tirtha, where the Supreme Court of India upheld the proposition that the state can manage the secular affairs of the temple and propounded the test of essential religious practice. Okay. Now these paragraphs are there, right? So aspirant generally they fail to understand, okay, whether it is important or not important. From Klim's point of view, this entire article, this entire paragraph is not important. It's not important. But from the Main's point of view, when you are compiling the material from the Main's point of view, these judgments are there, right? So these judgments you are supposed to quote. But in the newspaper, there are hundreds of judgments which appear. So you need not keep track of each and every judgment. At a superficial level, for every topic, only one judgment if you compile, that would be more than sufficient. So when you are preparing the notes for the Mains, you will keep it separately. Okay, you will keep it separately, but not important from Klim's point of view. That is very important. Okay. Here there are some things which we are supposed to understand. Where the Supreme Court of India upheld the proposition that a state can manage secular affairs of the temple and propounded the test of essential religious practice. So understanding these terms, it requires understanding of the polity related subjects. Means the question was whether a government can interfere in the religious matters or not. Supreme Court declared that yes, as far as it is to promote the secular aspects, then state can interfere. So that decision was given in this judgment. So it can be quoted in mains. But in prelims, they are not going to ask you in which of the following judgments it was declared that the state can interfere in the religious matters as far as it is promoting the secular affairs. Okay, no. Okay, no. Since then, successive governments in Tamil Nadu, beginning in 1970, have enacted laws to enable backward caste Hindus to be appointed as archakas. Okay, so from 1970 onwards, Tamil Nadu has brought many laws wherein the backward class people can also become priests in a temple. But again, not important. From mains you can quote, prelims not important. Which some have regarded as a contentious act of interference in the religious affairs. So some of them say that whatever the government has done, it has not done a good thing because you are interfering in the religious matters. But here, it also promotes equality as well. Okay, equality as well. In such instances, the court has upheld the right of the state to manage secular matters in temples while carrying out a special category of agamic temples. So see here, we came across a term called as agamic temples. So we have to search more what are agamic temples. Okay, later on, very important. Okay, so other things not important. Agamic temples we have to search. Change and resistance. Over the last few years, governments of Kerala and Tamil Nadu have appointed hundreds of trained archakas, Oduvars and Bhattacharyas from non-Brahmin castes. Very important. Okay. So in the last few years, archakas, Oduvars, Bhattacharyas have been selected from non-Brahmin castes in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. In mains it can be quoted. Okay. Mains it can be quoted. From the prelims point of view, they may ask you, so what does Oduvars mean? Okay. So people who are involved in what? Temple puja, etc. Okay, etc. These have been met with resistance within and outside the courts of the law. So when Tamil Nadu government and Kerala government have done such kind of things, so people have opposed it. Okay, but again not important from prelims point of view. These reforms challenge orthodox religious beliefs and entrenched social diktats. So the changes which the government of Tamil Nadu and Kerala have brought, they challenge orthodox religious beliefs. What are orthodox religious beliefs? The old beliefs. They believe that only certain caste people can enter the temple. Only people belonging to certain caste can do the puja and other rituals. Okay, so this was a orthodox belief. But the changes, the reforms which the Tamil Nadu and Kerala government brought, so it challenged these reforms. It challenged these reforms. Okay, so again, from mains point of view, you can quote. From prelims point of view, not important. Nevertheless, what does nevertheless mean? However, the push for reforms is stronger than before. So even today there is a push for what? Reforms. 100 years after Vaikom and over 75 years since the Constituent Assembly debate on this issue. So here, this year, both the topic are important. Vaikom, because Vaikom 100 years, Constituent Assembly, it's 75 years. Okay, 75 years. So both of them are important. There is a compelling moral consensus that is emerging. While the governments of Tamil Nadu and Kerala have collaborated to commemorate the centenary of Vaikom struggle on December 12, so not important. They are also celebrating a historic event that brought together two states. Okay, now very important. Historic event that brought together two states. They are paying tribute to the start of a social reform trajectory that was made possible due to the coming together of two of the greatest leaders. Okay. So here two of the greatest leaders is pointing to whom? Ramaswamy Periyar and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. B.R. Ambedkar. So here, what are the important points that you found here in this paragraph? Who are archaks, who are Oduvars, who are Bhattacharyas. That's it. Okay. Next. Vaikom, 75 years. Constituent Assembly. Sorry, 100 years Vaikom. 75 years. This is important. Okay. So other things are not important. Not important. Okay. So this was a brief about this article. That is Vaikom, two states, two leaders and trail of reform. Okay. So what I am expecting is, so can you prepare two to three, okay, objective questions based on this content? Will you be able to prepare?